about a few things tonight. One of them is these guys. They're the Blab Droids, and they've been traveling around the world, making the first documentary entirely shot and directed by robots. So they go around, ask people questions, record their answers. So talk about a bit about their history, and talk a bit about where this has brought my art practice and where I've gone from there. Yeah, it's really cute. So initially I started studying human-robot symbiosis, which now is called human-robot cooperation at MIT, and that's what I did my thesis work on. So that's how to get people and robots to work together. So for example, it's easy for us to get up a set of stairs because we have legs. Stairs are made for people, but it's kind of hard for a tiny little robot. Another example is what's hard for robots is doing things like navigation. So if a robot had to find where the bathroom is in this building, it'd be extremely hard. But if it were to ask someone for help, ask them where the bathroom is, and they could leverage their knowledge.
I need help. If you can help me, press the green button on the side of my head.
So that's Boxy. Boxy was the original robot. Boxy roamed around MIT and he used cuteness to get people to stop and help it. So people couldn't resist getting down there, and you can see the design is quite similar to things that we find cute. It's this universal construct, thinking that young animals, young things with their wide, big eyes and short, squat body are very cute. And I also later learned that certain film directors walked through my lab and took some inspiration. So we started with plastic, which is what you usually use when you're engineering a robot, or metal. But we actually went to cardboard after that because it was a very familiar, soft, crushable material. It made you feel like you're in control of the situation. Again, not something you usually make a robot out of, but it really worked. And the robot would do other things like intentionally get stuck or find a wall and flip itself over and wiggle around and ask for help. And again, these are things you usually avoid, but things that are helpful when you're trying to get people to stop and help you. So programming that in using sensors was important. But really where the aha moment came was when this guy walked into the media lab, and he was at the time runner in the Boston Marathon, and he was laying down on the floor telling the robot all his problems, how his flight was canceled and he wanted to go home and blah blah blah. And he was in the middle of a lab, right? Imagine someone here just laying on the floor doing this. It was very strange. And other people did other things the robot asked them to do. I don't know if you would bench for a strange robot, but people did when I asked them to. So that's where that started. And the question asked, well, why does this work so well? There's some prior work. One of them is Elijah, what some of you may or may not know. It's a robot psychologist, so you ask it questions and it answers in a very stupid way. But even the researchers that were talking to it found that they were having conversations afterwards. Even though they programmed it, they still were enthralled in the interaction. So this back and forth really works between us and computers in this, even in a simple way. So all that led to this generation. This is sort of the third generation after Boxy, the original robot. I changed the name to Blab Droids because Boxy was hard to find a domain. You can see Blab Droid on the left, Boxy on the right. So made it smaller, more compact, better cameras. At the time, Boxy had a flip cam. That's how old it was. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But we went to HD cameras in the new robot, so had full 1080p, a wide-angle lens, and everything. So what you're about to see next is a few clips that the robots have taken from around the world and people they've talked to.
I'm being interviewed by a robot.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Who do you love most in the world?
My mom.
I love my mom.
My wife.
What will people remember you for?
A little crazy, freaky, generous, small.
Tell me something that you've never told a stranger before.
I'm not really Chinese.
But I've had plastic surgery.
I just saw a dead cat wrapped in a blanket. I did. You want to see it? Dead cat in a blanket. No one likes it.
If you died tomorrow, what would you regret the most?
Spending time worrying.
Not loving the people I loved fully.
Where's regret? If you could give someone any gift, what would it be?
Give my mother the gift of not worrying about me before she dies. And she wants me to lose like a ton of weight and get really, really healthy. And she needs to see that before she dies for her to feel like I'm gonna be okay, but she's not here. And I wish I could give her that, and I'm not positive I can. You asked.
Dad, tomorrow, what would you regret the most?
I switched out her shampoo for a hair remover when she wasn't looking, and clumps of her hair fell out. I felt that she deserved it, and it's very much so justified. And I would do it again to her in a heartbeat. I still don't like her.
What created the moon?
What created the moon? The moon was created about 4 billion years ago when a huge, rocky, early planet slammed into the Earth, something about the size of Mars, crashed into the Earth like two big, wet pool balls, billiard balls, slamming into each other, and ripped a big section out of the Earth. It went off like a big glob into space and started orbiting the world, and slowly cooled, and it got further and further from the world over the billions of years until it finally coalesced and looks just like our moon does today. So truly, the moon is like the daughter of the Earth.
Anyway, so there's just a few clips of the many thousands of hours of video we've gotten. And again, these are just people talking to a cardboard box, basically, which is very interesting how we do that with things. So I like to use art as experiment, so we can look at that as an experiment. I'm going to talk about a few of my other installations, which I view fall into this category. Sometimes people actually even ask me if I'm going to publish results from these things. I've been outside of academia for a while, but I think a lot of these things that happen really get people to react in certain ways. And you know, if you really were to make a study of it, you can find out different things. So here's a simple piece that I made. Audio's a little low, but these are two balloons that are attracted and repelled to each other electrostatically. But the interesting thing here is that people interpret them as alive or having some sort of agency, especially when you're in the room with them. One woman even asked me if this is about domestic violence, if the two balloons were like a husband and wife fighting. People projected what they wanted to onto that, and a few other simple contraptions that pulled similar reactions from people. I was actually doing a residency where we camped on an island in Boston. The interesting thing here is when the sun started going down, the thing would slow down more and more, and people started feeling bad for it, like it was dying. It's kind of interesting. There's no face or anything on it. This one was also funny because people were like, oh, this is like my day job. Some sort of metaphorical connection people had with it. All right, and again, this is a very, very simple machine in the middle of nature somewhere. So it's interesting the parallels that people drew. The comments people made about this one were ones that gave these personalities. It's interesting, just the mere fact that these were grouped together, and obviously they would change over time because some would break and people would say that one's dead, or some would fall behind and they'd call it lazy. Right? Again, people were giving them these traits, these animal or human traits that really weren't there because of the way the experience that they had. They projected their own feelings and emotions onto them, which I think is important, especially as technology becomes more and more magical. So the takeaway from these is that simple machines can convey big emotions. They also can cause people to have interactions with them that the creator might not have seen before. Like I didn't foresee that a woman would think that the two balloons are about domestic violence, but to her that's what she projected onto it because the thing itself is so minimal that she was able to have her own takeaway from what it was. So a few of my newer things.
I want one of these. Now to the left. Come on.
Yeah, the BBC editorialized the video a little bit. So my interest with this in particular was starting to look at machines and robotics and
I
intimacy.
just realized this was how it's done. Okay, wait, that was good job. Okay, come back.
So usually you don't have something strange touching you on the top of your head, right? This is sort of it's a non-sexual area that still has this intimate place. And this particular device tickles people. And you can't tickle yourself, but a robot can tickle you, so it's kind of interesting. With this, the idea was it was sort of twofold. One was to make something that's like moths to a light for people, and also looks at ASMR, which is this online phenomenon of sounds that make people feel good. And the next thing you're about to see is the complete opposite of that. So this was specifically designed to, don't worry, I don't have this running too long. So it was specifically designed to push people away, while the other one was designed to pull people towards it, right? To make a sound that was so repellent you wouldn't want to be near that machine. So playing around with these ideas of what robots might be in the future. And this I wasn't initially going to talk about, but it's sort of broken in the news the past few days. So this is a new website I made that algorithmically makes prior art in patent law. So prior art means if it's online or published, you can no longer patent that idea. So here's an example that it made. That's a fishing reel that also has a umbrella with lighting. And the idea here was that as machines become more and more intelligent, things like the patent office isn't going to be able to keep up with it. We have things like patent trolls making stupid inventions. So why not have a machine do it and publish it online? And it's been doing this for the past few days. Already has a few million entries. Here is an adult diaper that also regulates your temperature and has a hood. So it generates, most of what it generates is gibberish, but it generates enough actual ideas that it could disrupt the way the patent system works. That's more of a, where's AI shifting? Not so much of a physicality, but where AI is going. Yeah, life and death is also an interest of mine. Like, being aware of our own mortality is a very human thing. So what happens if you put that in a machine? How will people feel about it? And I'll let this play for you. Just let the video play. So that was the first thing I built that had someone cry for it. People's reactions either they felt bad or wanted to go skydiving. And this last thing is just a few clips from my last show, just to show how these fit together within a gallery context. That's it. I left it a couple minutes short for questions.